A condiment is a spice, sauce, or preparation that is added to food after cooking to impart a specific flavor, to enhance the flavor, or to complement the dish. Now, this definition of a condiment on Wikipedia is a bit all over the place. Right here it says the exact definition of a condiment varies, which I totally agree with. It is tricky to nail down exactly what a condiment is. You take something like ketchup, which is definitely a sauce, but is widely considered a condiment, or soy sauce, which has sauce in the title, but most people would consider soy sauce a condiment. But for this video, we need some parameters, and for me, I think a condiment is something that is simple, just a few ingredients, but it doesn't just have to be added to your food after the cooking like it says here. You can definitely add a condiment during the cooking process to enhance the flavor as well. So in today's video, I'm gonna be showing you 5 different condiments that are all very simple, just 2 ingredients each that you can make completely from scratch. And when we have these simple but really flavorful condiments around and available and ready for use, well, you know what that means. I think the one definition that everyone can agree with, a condiment will enhance the flavor of your food. Can you make mustard with 2 ingredients? And the answer is yes, you definitely can, through the power of magic, or fermentation in this case. When you ferment mustard seeds, these have been fermenting for 2 weeks, you unlock a whole other dimension of flavors through lactofermentation. So by doing that, we don't have to add all of these extra ingredients. Now, if you're new to fermentation, this is probably the easiest fermentation project that you can do. Get a glass mason jar. I'm filling it up with 1 cup of black mustard seeds, 1 cup of yellow mustard seeds. I guess that's 2 ingredients, but you get the point. You could use 1 color if you want. Then I'll add 2 cups of water and 1 tablespoon of salt. And the most important ingredient is some type of liquid that's gonna lower the pH of the liquid to create the right environment for the fermentation of the mustard seeds. So for me, I use some plain kombucha that I had fermenting, which has a very low pH, which will start that lactofermentation process. But you could use some sauerkraut juice. You could just use some vinegar that you have in your pantry, and that will work just fine. Now that's pretty much it. You just lay the lid on top. You don't have to screw it on, and place that on your counter for at least a week. And just give it a stir every day or 2. And you'll see after a few days, there's gonna be a few bubbles here and there, and that's a good sign that the fermentation is active. So once the mustard seeds are fermented like this, you can store them in the fridge and just toss them into whatever recipes you want, a sauce, a dressing. They're good to go. But I'm gonna take it a step further and process these into some ground mustard. So I'm using a pestle and mortar for this, but you could definitely use a blender like that, or a food processor would work as well. I don't know, maybe you could even juice it. Let me try juicing it. See what I care. Drain them off. Do not throw away this fermented mustard liquid. That is precious right there. Put that in, start grinding. Now, guaranteed this is the best mustard you've ever had. It's just mustard on steroids. It's intensified, and I will be showing you a recipe later. I'll be showing you recipes for all of these condiments, but I actually need another condiment that's coming a little later to complete that recipe, so stay tuned. This next condiment is an aromatic oil, which is one of those things when you just have around, you're gonna find uses for it, and it's going to enhance the flavor of your food, which is the goal of condiments. Now, there are endless aromatic oils you can make. If you're doing a lot of Asian foods, you might want some type of chili oil or ginger or scallion oil. But for me, I've been making a lot of pizza recently, a lot of pizza this summer, so I'm gonna make an herb oil, specifically an oregano oil that I can drizzle on top of pizzas and other dishes, pasta dishes. You'll see it come up later, don't worry. So many ways to make an aromatic oil. In this case, I'm doing pretty much the easiest way. So fill up your jar with the amount of aromatic oil that you want. I'm just filling up this little mason jar. Olive oil is the oil that I want because I'm making a lot of Italian and Mediterranean food coming up. Dump that in. Get your pot on a medium heat, and then I have some beautiful oregano right here. You can use any herb you want, but since it's 2 ingredients, I'm keeping it very simple. Throw in a few sprigs of that. that. Now, if you want an even more enhancing oil, throw in some dried chilies or some chili flakes. A chili herb oil in my book is always better, but I'm sticking with the constraints of the 2 ingredients for the video. Now, a thermometer is really gonna help you for something like this. It's not mandatory, but I'll be checking the temperature. And when it gets to around 200 degrees, I'm gonna turn it down to a low heat and just maintain that temperature for about 5 minutes. So let's check this. So yeah, we're up to temperature. We want to be hovering around 200 degrees, but you can go a little higher. I just want to be gentle with these herbs. You can see there's just a nice little simmer, little bubble of the oil. Now I'm going to turn my heat from a medium to just a low heat and just maintain this bubble for the next 5 minutes to really infuse those aromatics into the oil. There you go. That's your aromatic oil right there. Beautiful. You can keep this out. Just make sure it's away from the sun in a cooler place so it doesn't spoil. And the beautiful thing is, since we did heat up those herbs, they're a bit sterilized in there. So they can stay in this oil and continue to infuse. It will just get better over time. And lucky for me, it's lunchtime and I'm gonna make something special. I've got this dough left over from yesterday that's busting right out of this container. So I'm thinking I just dump it in here and make some type of pizza focaccia creation with a little bit of the good stuff on top. So I oiled up this pan and I popped in my dough and I just let that sit for about a half an hour. So it proofed a little bit into the pan. Now I'll spread over my tomatski. By the way, if you want your focaccia pizza nice and crispy, make sure you've got plenty of oil in there. And hit it with the malts. I got my oven cranked on max right now. I'll throw that in for about 15 minutes. Ready? Gemini right there. Crispy golden oil. Just a drizzle. Like it needed any more oil, but that, yes. Little basil, double herb action. Little salt. Come on, it's a pizza party in here. See, this is so simple to make, but it's the type of thing that you would see in a high-end pizza shop that takes pizza from really good to just extraordinary. It's like, what is that flavor? What is that extra something? Well, it can be an aromatic oil. Now, if you've ever made homemade hummus, you know you got to use a good bit of tahini, and I'm sure you just use the store-bought stuff, but if you want to make life-changing hummus, you make your own tahini, and it's actually really simple to make. And we can use it for a few other really delicious things as well. Tahini's super simple. You just need a lot of sesame seeds. I got this big old bag on Amazon. I'll link that below. And I'm gonna get my pan on a medium heat. 1 cup, 2 cups, 3 cups, 4 cups. And just let these toast for a few minutes. Monitor this so it doesn't burn, and you're good to go. It's been about 5 minutes. It might be a little bit difficult to tell, but you can see they're shiny. The sesame seeds have changed from bright white to a more pale color with a few brown seeds. We don't want to toast the hell out of them. We just want to get the juices flowing. And if you smell it right now, it smells like tahini. But we got to process these to get the actual paste. I'm using a high-speed blender for this. You can use a food processor as well. I'm going to dump my toasted sesame seeds right in there. I'm going to start this off on a low speed. See how it's starting to form a paste right here? That's what you're looking for. So this is the furthest you can really go without the addition of oil. I'm gonna add 1 tablespoon at a time. And this will help it really get nice and creamy. All right, let's try that. So for 4 cups of seeds, I used 4 tablespoons of oil. Now, are you kidding me with that? Homemade tahini. That will be the best tahini you have ever had. Fresh pressed. And this is a great trick. See how I've got a bunch of tahini still left in there? Well, in Middle Eastern cuisine, there's something called a tahina sauce, which is taking tahini and making just an incredible all-purpose creamy sauce with it. So rather than cleaning this out Let's just turn this into a sauce. It's probably, if I had to guess, a little less than a cup of tahini. So what I'm gonna do is take a few garlic cloves, smash those, add those to the mix, juice an entire lemon, add in a few cumin seeds, which is optional, but they do add a really nice depth of flavor. And then a little bit of water to thin it out, and finally salt and pepper to season. And you've got a beautiful dressing or a sauce you can of course drizzle over some falafel or anything really. So good. Now, if you make this, you're setting yourself up for an incredible hummus, of course, one of the best uses for tahini. But if you happen to have something like this in the pantry, well, then you might just be in store for the best hummus of your life, which is about to happen in this food processor right here. But first, of course, we need chickpeas. And if you want to make the best hummus, you can't use the canned stuff. You got to use the dry stuff. So I soaked 2 cups of dried chickpeas in water overnight, and I got this. Then I threw those in the pressure cooker for about 20 minutes until they were nice and soft. Chickpeas. Most people underestimate the amount of tahini you need for a good hummus, but we're going to use about half of this, maybe a cup. 1 garlic clove. I'm juicing in 1 lemon, and finally salt. Now you really want to let this go for a while until it is creamy and smooth. Traditional hummus doesn't have oil in the hummus. It has oil on top of the hummus. So this is a perfect use for that oregano oil. All I have is this pizza to dip. Take an edge off. Best hummus of your life, guaranteed, or your money back. I will give you your money back if that's even possible. Don't use the canned stuff if you want hummus like that. The next condiment I'm gonna be making is mayo. And a lot of people not only don't know how to make mayo, they don't even know what mayo is. And it's really simple. It's just 2 ingredients at the base. You've got an egg and you've got some oil, but you don't have to actually use an egg. If you don't have an egg around, or you're vegan and you have some chickpea liquid or aquafaba, which of course we have from the last recipe, you can make a vegan mayo. So I'm gonna pour in about 3 tablespoons of that. It's about an egg, maybe a little more than an egg's worth. Fun fact, my brother actually immersion blended my chest once. It's a long story, first video we ever made, but make sure you understand the safety, or when you're cleaning it, this thing's off, because these things scare the shit out of me. Just gonna take a little bit of salt. That's the ingredient we're not counting. And start whipping this up with the immersion blender till it's nice and frothy. I'm using avocado oil here. Use whatever oil you want. And I'm just gonna slowly drizzle that in. All right, it's really starting to get thick. So now you can add oil a little bit more aggressively. Look at that. 100% vegan mayo. Nice and creamy with that slight chickpea flavor, which I actually like. Taking advantage of a throwaway item with that aquafaba. That would have went right into the drink. Here's the consistency we're working with. Really solid, really solid. And it's a slightly green coloring, just because I'm using avocado oil, which is slightly green. Now, once you start building up a little collection of condiments, we've got the herb oil, we've got the mayo, and we've got the mustard, well then maximum flavor is super easy to accomplish. So just have some cabbage and carrots that are shredded up. Watch this. 1 scoop of mustard, 1 scoop of mayo, drizzle of the oregano oil, oops, squeeze of lemon, salt, pepper, and we mix. Now you could make the same slaw with store-bought condiments, but I have a feeling that it just won't quite compare to something this delicate and this delicious. Now the final condiment, I'm not gonna say this one is super easy, but I did wanna throw it out there as a great option, definitely a flavor enhancer. So this, straight out of my fridge, we've got some miso paste. And you can see right on this package, Koji fermented rice and soybeans. Now this stuff takes at least 3 months, probably for a sweet miso like this, maybe 6 months to ferment. Not so realistic for a lot of people, but there is something, where are you? That takes a lot quicker, which is a cashew miso. It only takes a week and it is incredibly delicious. Now here's the kicker. You need some of this right here, this baggie. This is not drugs. This is actually koji, the main ingredient that ferments your miso. Now, I grew this koji myself. There's gonna be a whole nother video on that coming very soon. And of course, most of you won't be growing your own koji, but if you go to a Japanese store around you, there's a very good chance they're carrying something that looks like this right here, which is already prepared koji. And all you have to do is get that, mix it with some cashews, and you have one of the most flavor enhancing condiments that you can possibly have in your refrigerator. The first step we have to do is soak our cashews. So I'm gonna take 2 cups of cashews and cover them in water to soak overnight so they fully hydrate. All right, so you can see these cashews are fully soaked and hydrated. That's very important so the koji can really break them down much easier. Now I'll dump these into a food processor, and to make it even easier for the koji to break down the cashews, we're just gonna give these a pulse to break them up. You don't want a puree or a cashew butter, you just want a rough pulse. So we'll dump that in. Here's our koji. Oh, it smells so good. You can see it's a little green right there. That's actually from new spores starting to inoculate. Generally, your koji is just white like that. And I'll just break in about a cup of fresh koji. So if you were making miso paste, it'd be the same exact process, except the cashews would be replaced with soybeans. About 1.5 tablespoons of salt. I'll pour a little bit of that cashew liquid in there just to get it going. And I'll pop that in the jar, pack it down. Now you'll just put a lid on this and you'll let it sit at room temperature for about a week. And every day, you just take off the lid and just give it a little stir up, just to make sure you don't have any bad guys forming in there. And what's amazing about cashews and other nuts compared to soybeans, in just a week, you ready for this? This is what you're gonna get. Koji fermentation right there. Now, obviously you can't taste this, so you won't know what's happening inside of here, but I'll do my best to explain it scientifically. So koji uses enzymes to break down these complex starches in the cashews, and it starts to unlock different sugars and, most importantly, amino acids, which is why something like miso paste tastes so umami heavy. It's all of that amino acid. So you could really call this a cashew amino paste. And now once this is done fermenting, you throw it in your fridge and it's good for months. And I can't even begin to tell you how much stuff I add this to. Simple stir fry sauce, you throw in a scoop of this, flavor explosion. But what I'm gonna use it for right now is something I've never tried before. I know miso cookies are like a big thing now. So why not replace the miso with this cashew miso? And also, let's get some tahini in there and see what happens. Oh boy. Dry ingredients. Cookie dough cooled in the fridge for 30 minutes. Let's see what we got here. I always fail at cookies, but these are good. I think this big old batch of cashew miso tahini cookies is a great way to end this video. I swear, I suck at making cookies. I think because I am bad at following recipes, but these, I mean, I still kind of freestyled it a little bit. I think I just got lucky. Tastes like a perfect cookie, and then somehow that perfect cookie just got a little bit better. So what did we learn today? Condiments, make them yourself. They're simple, they enhance the flavor of your food. As I'm just pulling condiments. Tahini, gone. And that's about it. Thank you guys for continuing to watch. I'm just grateful that I get to cook all day and make delicious food and have fun in the kitchen and share it with you. So hopefully you took some inspiration and you'll make some condiments. Make sure you tag me at Life by Mike G, on Instagram if you make some condiments. And I'll see you in the next video.